because women and women leaders. And Appreciate, thank you so much for bringing GSA here. Thank you for your leadership. This is a phenomenal organization, much needed, and we're doing a lot of work with GSA.
Welcome speaker needs no introduction. She's a global business leader, an influencer, and a huge community advocate.
Women CEOs is up 50%. The number of women leading tech companies and seeking venture capital is coming up. And so we are making progress. There is a real challenge for women of color, however. The fact of the matter is that McKinsey and LeanIn.org did a study saying that of 75,000 women and men, and when it comes to corporate ambition, women of color are more ambitious. More of them want to see higher roles. Unfortunately, only 3% of C-suite roles are women of color, right? So we have a lot of work to do. If you don't ask, if you don't fight for you cannot expect anybody else to do it.
Happy International Women's Day to all of you and to the men who support us. A couple men in here, right?
We know in this day and age, women need to support each other, as Andrea Zopp said and the other speakers. And so I'm excited to actually be sitting with one of my sheroes, Dr. Helene D, and actually have her in Chicago. Can we just really welcome her to
institutions also being prepared to accept us.
Absolutely, absolutely. I also highly recommend pushing our men allies to go in and have those conversations. I, like you, have been fortunate enough to have male mentors in the business sector who actually open doors and continuously push me into rooms and make those people listen to me and challenge ideologies. And so that's important. I just want to encourage the women in the room. Don't think you have to do it by yourself, or you only have to do it with your sisters. You also encourage your male allies to stand up, to join you in those rooms, speak on your behalf, hold them accountable. We don't have to do it alone, and that's a good segue into a question that I have.
And I just want to make another add to that, though. I do think that, and it's a point that you made earlier, is that we as women also have that responsibility. And sometimes we do get in these positions where we're afraid to have another woman join because we think there's competition, and we're afraid to take the same risk with women that we would take with a man. And I can over and over. One of the best things that I've discovered here in Chicago is this incredible love of Chicago that people have. There's this real sense of pride and commitment to this city. But I also think that people don't understand how to translate that into the whole city. And so we have this city that is hugely unequal, one of the most unequal cities in America. And there's something wrong with this incredible civic pride, and at the same time, this sense of at least 2 to 3 Chicagos. And all the data that show life expectancy 5 miles away has a 20-year gap. That's unacceptable. So I think we will continue to tackle these issues, and I think that the Trust has done a lot of wonderful, wonderful things in its 102 years. We can point to a lot of them.
What advice would you give to the women in the room about seeking out non-traditional roles like you did, and kind of just not being hindered by limitations?
Just do it.
I've been with Lyft for about 3 years, right? We've had lots of challenges. As you can think about my years prior to Lyft, I come to Lyft in a very uplifting way. What about C-suite levels? What about director levels? What about staff? What about promotion in those aspects? And so I think for companies and for organizations to really start to grab this by its throat, essentially, we have to be focusing on every single layer, and I don't think that has been accomplished just yet. We're starting to be focused on it.
So
part of my responsibility now is to ensure that I instill in her, if you so desire to get a big office, you can get one, right? And so in all that I do, I try to ensure that she's around, that she's present, that she understands the things that we're doing. From the employer side, and what I do at Benefit Chicago is very similar. We both take investments in, so individuals can invest in Benefit Chicago directly with as little as $20. And then we take those dollars and invest them into businesses. And I think it's important to reiterate what we just heard. The importance and empowerment of ownership is incredible.
Things I want to talk about in terms of how I utilize sort of my role, particularly in my industry, my background, education, and otherwise, in relationships to support women, especially women of color. So first, let me talk about my nonprofit, One Stock, One Future, with the mission to turn 1 million youth into public company shareholders. So I teach basic classes about stock, and then I donate shares to each student to give them a sense of hope, inspiration, empowerment, and opportunity. The inspiration came from my niece. Anybody who follows me on social media, you guys know my niece. Her name is Cadence. She's now 10 years old. I bought her shares in Nike, Apple, and Disney a couple of years ago. Walked her into each store on Michigan Avenue, Nike Town, Apple Store, and Disney Store, and I said, Cadence, you own this store now. Everything here is yours.
And I was like, you know what? I can be my own best friend, but I have to figure out how to navigate these waters. And I sat back and I looked at who in the room was moving and shaking and how to get to the table, and I found those people and I created a bench, you know, from IT to HR to all of these department heads that I could figure out how to work with and navigate. And naturally they became advocates for me when I wasn't in the room, and I saw that that was power. And so I just leaned into that. And over time, I still realized even being at the table, once you got there, there were challenges. So that was just the first step.